Okay, now to speed this up a little bit, I've already done her feet, face, belly, and tail band, just because it makes the whole rest of the job go a little easier. And of course, there goes my telephone, right? I cut above. We're at 1110 Whispering Pines. Yes, sir, but it's only available from a veterinarian. You need a prescription for it. You're welcome. That was a strange call. Where are y'all located? And have you ever heard of Brevecto? Makes no sense. But that's how grooming in a normal grooming shop goes every day, doesn't it? You get weird phone calls. So, what I'm going to show you today is, Libby. Libby. What are you? You're looking the wrong way. It's my baby girl. See, I was born on 9/11. I'm Liberty. So she's 9 months old. Almost. She still has puppy fluff from heck. Okay, from hell. Go ahead and say it. Why not? We're all adults here, right? Mostly. And I've done her one time before on video and want to do her one more time on video just to show you a few things that have changed a little bit. And I want to show you something about a comb, the difference a comb can make. So I can get out of the way of the loop. That's weird. Anyway, I'm going to take her rear loop off because she doesn't need it. Not while I'm sitting here anyway, if I were moving around maybe. So anyway, it's my groomer's helper loop adjuster. We can move it out of the way. I have people who have talked about these combs and don't understand them, but I'm talking about the Utsumi combs. I am in love with my Utsumi combs. Now the one I have in my hand right now is a Liz Paul. And unfortunately they're not available anymore unless you find one from somebody willing to sell one, because they're just all gone. They're sold out. End of discussion. They're just gone. Love my Liz Paul combs. They are one of the best quality combs on the market and they do a great job. In fact, let's show you here. When you fluff, they do a good job. They really do. They slide through the coat easily. They make the coat stand up and they're great for dematting with because they are so well made. But again, you can't get them anymore. And I'm sort of addicted to this comb, so I have 6. And no, I won't sell one. Right there behind the scissors. And then we have the Utsumi combs, which I have both the gold, which I consider my utility and my everyday comb, and then I have the Half Moon Silver, which is the bomb, for lack of a better way to put it. This is the best comb I have ever used in my life. I'm sorry, Liz. If you use this comb, see, I just combed through her with the Liz, and this one's catching some stuff already. You just get a little bit better, a little bit more fine, a little bit different fluff out. It's the way the teeth are made, the way the teeth are spaced. I'm not really 100% sure. I just know it's it works. They work great. This is the gold one. Now, I'm going to go through with this one. And if you'll notice, you get an even better, more fine, more fluffed look. And it's catching stuff that neither of the other combs got. Put your foot down. Thank you. She's really good for a puppy. There's something about the shape of the teeth and the fineness of the teeth, as well as the spacing of the teeth, that just allows for a better finish. And there, let me just pull the little knot out. And what I'm going to do to sort of prove my point here is I'm going to comb this side with this comb. Put your foot down. Thank you. And let you look at it. And I'm doing it on camera so you can actually see that I'm not making this stuff up. Do you see how well the coat stands and how well the coat is staying where I put it? Come on, Liberty, put your foot down. Okay, see how good that looks? Then I'm going to take my trusty Liz back out. And the teeth are thicker. And they're a little further apart. And I think that as a result of that, they just don't allow for quite as tight of a finish, quite as tight of a fluff. And I'm doing her the same way I did on the other side, just a different comb. Because again, this is my Liz. And while I have a nice fluff, it's just not quite the same. Stop. And it lifts and it holds and it'll do all that. But now watch. When I go through it with this comb again, it's just a more fine finish. It's almost like the difference between using a skip tooth and a finish blade. Now, do you see the difference? Go back through it with this, and I can undo what I just did with that other comb. It will undo it. We really gotta fix that front leg, babe. We can then go through it with this, and we get an even better, more fine fluff. I don't get paid by this company. Oh, do you see what that did? See? The Liz was catching nothing going through this. This is catching not mats, but tangles that the Liz didn't catch. And I used to call the Liz my magic comb because it caught every little tangle that I could imagine. It's hard to do this from this angle. But there. Now she has been totally brushed out. And we've discussed the comb. And actually, turn around, babe. Let's get your head. I can't do that from that side. I'm going to do this side with the regular Utsumi, the silver Utsumi, and then this side with the Liz. There's a little bit of a difference on the head even. I don't know if you can see it, but this side just seems to stand better. It just seems to be separated more than this one. See, it's just a little different. And then when we go through with this, just because it's catching stuff on that side that the Liz didn't catch. Not much, but a little bit. Now she has really soft hair, and that may be making part of the difference here. But anyway, now that we've gotten that done, it's really critical to have a good fluff on a poodle if you're going to get a good groom. And I would venture a guess that I didn't have as good a fluff on her last time as I needed, since I have all of this stuff hanging here. The nice thing is she's my puppy, so I can fix it. Of course, she don't want to do this. She just want to give Mama kisses. She can't give me kisses all day. We got to get to work. She only weighs about 4.5 pounds. Tiny little thing. What's funny is her brother weighs 16. Her litter mate is pushing 16 pounds at 9 months. He's a true mini. We knew that when we sold him to the person, and she knew that when she bought him. I kept this one for my mother, and then my mother has decided that she doesn't work out at her house because she's gone so much, so she's back with me. I'm okay with that. I love itty bitties. They're fun. I love them. And there's something about a toy poodle that this cocker girl never in a million years would have thought she was going to love. But I love me a toy poodle. Because she is so small, I wouldn't dare put a blade on her because you would really see how small she is. Right now, she's got about that much hair, about 1.25 inches. So we're going to start off with the peach comb, which is the number 1. I'm going to leave a crest on her, so we're going to start the line right at the middle of the shoulder blade. And this may not take any hair off. Oh, well, it helps if it's on the 40 setting. Because I'm pretty good about keeping up with her. This is not going to do it. It's not going to be short enough. And honestly, her hair is so soft that it's not really wanting to catch it. I don't want to use the back system, but I may be forced to. The blue's good. Which that would be the two comb. When I come down her sides, I tend to go this way, so sideways and not down, until I get underneath her, and I'm going to roll that hair, or roll the skin to the other side so I can get a flat rib cage going through there. Get a smoother line that way. Take her shoulders nice and tight through there with this comb. And I'll show you in just a second what I've accomplished over here. Poodles are the one breed that I do back brush. Imagine that. Especially if I'm not using the vac. If I'm using the vac, it's a different story. I might not back brush as much. But especially with a super soft coat like hers, I feel like you sort of have to back brush it. Otherwise, you're not going to get much accomplished. Again, we're going to pull that to the side because that gives me a smoother, flatter surface to work on. Now, when I get to her tuck-up area here, I'm literally skimming it. Let's see if we can show you on this side. To here, she is so skinny inside. If I'm not really careful, we'll have a problem. So when we pull the skin this direction, we end up with a flat surface to work on. We can come under her this way. And when we get to here, I come straight down. I'm not rounding it underneath her because I don't want to hollow her out. See what pretty lines we have? And we accomplish that because when we pull this way, we end up with a flat surface again. Otherwise, we're coming down and around and ribby, the ribs, and that becomes a ribby area, as I like to put it, because she's thin, you can feel the ribs. If you roll this up like that, literally just pull it to the side, you end up with a flat surface to work with. And that's what you want on a poodle, is a flat side. Not slab side, but flat side. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Notice I haven't touched her chest. There's a reason for that. We're going to leave a little bit of a chest there. I'm going to skim some hair off real quick. And right back here, you know why I did that? Because I was going to bevel in my tail set really easily. There we go. I'm again going to roll this so I get a flat surface. You're able to just come straight down at that point, kind of like you would on a schnauzer. In fact, a lot about this groom is similar to a schnauzer. And I know a lot of poodle people out there going, what is she talking about? I'll explain that in a minute. Again, I'm skimming over that tuck-up area. Don't want to gouge it out and leave her pinched in the waist. Because while poodles have a little bit of a waistline, you don't want to pinch it. I've been known to do that before, even in competition. Sometimes you can take your finger and push the tuck up out too. That helps sometimes. Now, I'm not a spectacular poodle groomer, and it's one of those things that I can tell you how to do much more so than I can do it myself. So some of the things that I'm telling you, when you do them, they're going to make more sense to you, and they're going to look better than they do when I do them, because again, I'm one of those people that can tell you how to do it, but doing it, not so much. Don't know why. They make sense to me up here. They don't make sense to me here. And that doesn't make any sense, but it's the truth. Okay, one more pass through here, and then we're going to end up scissoring some of this because she's just so soft. In fact, as soft as she is, it might not be a bad idea to have used the back. But anyway, I don't like to take off under here rounded. I like to leave a little bit so that you can scissor it in the way you want to do it. And that's where the schnauzer comes into play. When you're setting a schnauzer skirt, you come down under and aim towards the middle of the dog. If you drew a line right down the middle here between her legs, that's where you would aim for with your clipper to set your skirt on a schnauzer. The same thing for an underline on a poodle. Same lines. When you are doing a modern or a puppy trim or whatever you'd like to call this, because everybody has a different name for it. I like to call this a modern because it's fashioned after the modern poodle clip. You are also going to expose shoulder and separate the leg from the body, just like you would on a schnauzer. Same line, down to the point here. You're going to take that little bit out and then float down into the leg, just like on a schnauzer. In the back, I know some of you are going, what is... I'm telling you. Through here, we're going to set our angulation in the rear. I'm using went one blade shorter. I want you to look at this back end. Does this not look a little schnauzery? Oh, hello. I'll be right there. Let me go give that puppy to her mama, and I will be right back. Okay, now I have her back on the table and my Yorkie client has gone home. I agreed to do a Yorkie client for a decent client on my day off because we missed her appointment request on the answering machine. Oops. All right, and now back to the rear end. When you're doing a scissored trim or a modern or whatever, puppy, lamb, whatever you want to call it. I guess a lamb trim wouldn't quite be this way. You're going to want to leave some angulation. Now here's her pointer rump right here. So it's going to come off at a point. And then I come in with my snap-on comb right to the pointer rump and then scoop out here. Does that look a little bit like a schnauzer leg to you? The lines are similar, right? Down and then hock. Every groom can relate back to a schnauzer groom in one way, shape, or form. So that's why it's important to know how to do a schnauzer correctly. And then here, I'm skimming, but I'm taking this part of the leg shorter than I would that part of the leg, just like I would on a schnauzer. And then I'm going to blend into the fringe here. That's how you set your angulation. You want more hair on the inside of the leg than you do on the outside for this groom. So we're going to do the same thing on this other leg. I'm going to come to the pointer rump and then scoop out. And then skimming, take off the back part of that leg and float down into the longer hair on the front. Essentially, the shorter hair, as you can see here, is going to be right there, right where that muscle is, just like on a schnauzer. And because she has such soft hair, we're going to have to do it again. And when you flip out like that, you're actually cutting the angulation the way you want it to be. So, there we go. See, it's shorter through there, and then it goes into the longer hair here, and it blends down and in. So it's not like it's just short and then long. It's literally layering down and in into the same shape that you would get on a schnauzer. It's just a poodle. Voila. Now let me do it over here. Also, I want you to know that it would look better had I done it facing me, because this leg looks better won't have to do it as many times that way. And scooping it out again, just to make it safe, or make it shorter. Safe? I don't know where that came from. Now, up on the neckline, I'm going to take my purple comb, which is one shorter than what I did the body on, and I'm going to take the neck a little tighter. Turn around. See what I did there? Right through there. She is so good to be a puppy. She is the exact opposite of her mother. But you come down, and then down into the shoulder. Skim off to blend into the body, and you finish that with scissors later. But see, I'm going to come down here and then float off into the leg. Same thing there. And because she's a little long, I'm going to take the front here nice and tight through here. And between the legs, I'm going to take that out with a shorter snap-on. I'm going to set the same side over here. Because again, it just does better if I can do it when it's looking at me. Then I pick up a leg and I go underneath and take that off. And in fact, I'm going to show you how to do that by going out to the other side. Because that's a neat little trick. If you hold the leg out, let me cross in front of your camera here. Wait, babe. You hold the leg out, scoop that right there, and then underneath. And then I'm taking that out with the shorter snap-on comb. Remember, I came down this way with my longer one, and then I'm going to take it out underneath with my snap-on that way. And I'm going to shape that in. And again, we have schnauzer lines. Down to the elbow, down to the muscle, and then it blends. And I know some traditional poodle people out there are screaming at me. It's not like a schnauzer at all. The lines are like a schnauzer, in my opinion. That's how I remember them. That's how I've made it work for me to learn them. And people that I've taught that way can remember it that way. The lines are not exactly the same, but it's the same basic outline. Okay, now, really the rest of what we have to do is scissor. We've actually gotten that done pretty quickly. Part of that's because she's so little. Don't tell her she's little. She doesn't know she's little. She thinks that she's this great, big, huge dog. Even though we all can look at her and tell she's not. Generally speaking, I would set my bevels with a snap-on comb, but today, since I'm doing her legs by hand, I'm going to set them by hand. And hers are really not bad at all because she was just groomed not that long ago. Stop. If they were really overgrown, you do them by pulling the hair down like this. In fact, I would just go ahead and do them this way. Why not? Because I can't find my scissors, that's why not. Round them. You can also use a clipper to do this when you do her feet. I actually set them a little bit with my clipper when I did her feet. It's another reason why they don't need to be done tremendously. Put them down, fluff it up. And the bevels are pretty much done. And then if you look at the line, at the way the hair falls on the legs, think schnauzer. We have the bottom is full, right? The bottom is full down at the hock. We stand the hair up to scissor on her. Again, this is short blending into the longer. And she's not going to be perfect. The soft puppy coat is going to not make it possible to be perfect. And then we're going to leave a fringe on the front just like we would on a schnauzer. And then back here around her privates, I'm going to scissor nice and tight. I don't expose her privates. Some people would. I don't on her. There's no real reason for it other than she's a little sensitive and I don't want to irritate that skin. Now, one thing about poodle grooming that I find hard is that you need to scissor up whenever possible. And on a little bitty one, that can be hard. So I'm going to lift her entire body up to be able to get my line here, because otherwise I can't scissor up. The reason you scissor up is to make the hair stand up when you scissor. If you're scissoring down, then you're pushing it down. I'm holding her up. She's not in any danger. She's not hurting. And my gosh, she only weighs about 4 pounds. So, boom. Not bad. And then I can go back, and go down just a little bit and just catch anything I see that's really out of whack. But like I said, soft puppy coat. Oh my word, this is soft puppy coat. Right back through here. That's the part I was talking about. I like that nice and tight at the point of rump, and then coming down into the blending. You see what I did there? You see how that works? Now, I will take my chunkers and go back and blend some of those lines away. Chunkers you can go down because you're using them almost like a comb. And I'll clean up her underline with these. I know not many 9-month-old puppies are this good, but not many 9-month-old puppies are raised in the grooming shop either. It's really too bad she's not a show puppy because she could be phenomenal. Even a competition dog, but I've pretty much retired from competing, so yeah, there won't be any of that with her either. And then nice and tight up through there, and then bevel down into the chest. She has a really pretty figure to begin with. I mean, her chest is right there. Now, on the front, and I am combing down on her. If she had a wirier coat, I would comb up. But because she doesn't, and it's still that soft puppy fuzz, I'm going to comb down at this point. Because it's going to flop down anyway. But there we go. And the reason I'm using chunkers and not blenders, they actually act more like a straight. So I'm actually able to remove more coat. Now on the front, let me get my scissors because I need those. I'm going to set our bevels, which are pretty much set again, as we've discussed. She has dew claws in the front, not in the back. I don't remove them. And she's one of my puppies, so you have to remember that they have dew claws is all. Set my bevels. Anything that falls down around the pad or the foot where I've cut the foot line in gets trimmed off. If it falls down past the foot, it needs to come off. That's that simple. Let me take this. And her hair is so soft it's wanting to part. Put your head up for me. And I've got to pull her head up just a smidge. Because the scissors I'm using could be really kind of dangerous for her. Now, we can pull the front leg out. Some people say don't do it. I have to do it in order to see what I'm doing. Now, some people like perpendicular legs where the lines are completely parallel, straight up and down. Kind of like a flare. Not a bell bottom, but kind of a flare. Just scissor all that out from underneath her armpit. Not really sure why, but that's my style. You can do a perfectly column leg if you want. Or you can do what I do, which again, I sort of taper it down kind of like a schnauzering. Where schnauzers are like an upside down baseball bat. That's similar to what I like to do on a poodle. I'm not saying it's correct, I'm saying that's the way I like to do my styling on one. And since we're not showing, and she's mine, I can get away with that. I like the look of it. It's kind of like a full lamb leg. I'm going to shape it just a smidge more right there. I don't like the way that looks. But again, do you notice this looks kind of like a schnauzer? If you took the poodle feet off, it looks kind of like a schnauzer. The lines are very, very similar. So if you can remember, tight here, like you would on a schnauzer, tight here, like you would on a schnauzer, blending into the legs, which have the fringe on the front, kind of like a schnauzer. It might help you remember the lines for this type of a poodle trim. It might not, but it might. Then again, the more we can reinforce the schnauzer trim on anything else, the more you'll understand the fact that grooming is not rocket science. There are really only about 3 basic patterns. I usually say 5, but technically there's only about 3. And once you learn those, you can groom anything you want to groom. Grooming by numbers. It's not rocket science. Grooming is actually very basic. Learning how to use the tools and how to handle the dogs is much more important than learning your patterns. Patterns can be taught. The rest of it is innate, and it's hard if you're not born with it, you'll never get it. If you are born with it, it'll come really easy. So you can actually probably learn it, but it's a whole lot easier if you're taught from the beginning how to handle a dog and how a dog works. Like I said, patterns we can teach later. But anyway, I'm going to just trim this up really fast. Since you've watched me do the other side, I'm going to make this side match it. And I'm normally really, really quickly doing things. I'm trying to do things a little slower today so you can watch what I'm doing and so that they might make a little more sense to you. If you wanted to, you could have taken a longer snap-on comb and set her legs with that. I don't think it would look good on her because her coat is so soft. She's one of those that actually, if you could fully hand scissor her, she would probably look better. Her adult coat is coming in, but she is only 9 months old, and she's a cream. And anybody who knows anything about toy poodles knows cream hair sucks. Just in a nutshell, cream sucks. White's good. Cream sucks. And she is not white. She looks white. She's not. You can notice her ears have a little bit of apricot tinge. That's your clue that she's a cream. Her mother is cream. Her dad is almost white, but is a cream. People argue with me that he's white, but he's not. He's cream. I know what he looked like as a puppy. And even though nowadays he's almost pure white, I don't find any cream on him at all right now. Not even on his ears. Nowhere do you see any spots that are not white, white, white on him. But he's not white. Okay. Without these Utsumi combs, both of them, I don't think I could get a dog like her done. Not and do it well, because her coat being so soft and so fine, it requires that full separation that comb allows. A lot of the schnauzers that we see that have that really super fine, incorrect coat, the same thing applies. If I didn't have those combs, I'm pretty sure I would not get them done. I'm sorry. Some people on the front legs cut straight down. I like to angle mine in just a smidge from the chest, and I'll show you what I mean in just a second. I quite literally go in and then down, give her a chest. And I do that with my curves, generally speaking. I'll take a pair of flipper curves, which have finger controls on both sides. Put them right here and scissor down into the leg. Do the same thing over here on this side where you want just a little more angle. You can do it with a curve reversed because it does your blending for you. It does all your blending for you if you do it that way. She's so soft. These scissors are not wanting to catch her hair. That's one reason that I keep so many different pairs of shears around too, for the record. She's watching my other puppies play on the floor. I say puppies, they're 11 or 12 years old, but anyway. I keep different scissors around because different shears are going to work better on different coats. It's the same with a stripping knife. Sometimes a stripping knife works better on one coat than it does on another. It's the same with a comb, and it's the same with a pair of shears. They're all going to have a purpose, and it might just be that they don't work on that particular coat that day. These scissors that I'm using right now happen to be my Affordable Grooming Shears Eliminator series, and they are the bomb. They're kind of like my Utsumi comb. They're a phenomenal shear. I can't believe how much I like them, being that they're only about half of what I spent on my Kinchis that I loved until I got these. And I don't have my Kinchis anymore. So Affordable Grooming Shears has these. They are really nice. They are incredibly sharp. They have a tremendous convex edge on them, and they've got a nice weight. They're not too heavy, and they're not so thin that they flex. They've got enough balance. They're just, to me, they're just the best shear I've ever used for this type of hair especially. And I know that a lot of people don't believe in using expensive shears in a grooming shop, but I don't believe in using cheap ones. And by cheap, I don't mean price, I mean quality. I want the best quality I can get. And the reason is I get a better finish. And when I get a better finish, I have happier clients. Happier clients mean more money. And the better the shear, the faster you get done. The faster you get done, the happier the puppies, the happier the owners, the more money you can make because you can do more dogs. Grooming smarter. Time is money. Okay, and I know that you can't see what I'm doing over here, but it's the same thing that we just did on the other side. Exactly the same thing we did on the other side. You've already seen me do it once. So let's see if we can set your top line in, baby girl. Poodles are supposed to have a straight top line up until you get to the crest area. Hers is actually pretty doggone straight. We have a little hump right there we'll fix. She's got a beautiful tail set. Her daddy is out of one of the top show kennels in the country. And he's a knockout. He's the one that we use to do our little Asian fusion demos with. He's a knockout. I love him. I wish she had half the quality of hair he's got. But she doesn't yet. Then again, the first few times I groomed him when he belonged to the co-owner, I wanted to just throw up my hands and quit. It was horrible. Absolutely horrible. Now, I'm going to show you, and I think we can do it from that direction, how we do, oh, wait a minute, let me secure this up here out of the way. How we do our crest. Yeah, doing it from this direction is probably the best way to do it. Sit down. Yeah, it's my girl. I stand them up, or excuse me, I sit them down and I comb the hair up. And she knows what I'm doing, so she's cooperating because she's had this done several times. And then I'm going to use a pair, these are not my flippers, even though I wish they were. I'm going to use them reversed, coming down from the head into the shoulder at exactly the angle that I want to set it. If you tip their head forward, it's going to automatically set that line for you. I have her set back up now, so I can make sure that I'm in the right place. Bring my sides down. She could have had a little more side into this, but not much. Some people like to make a V shape in the back of the head. I'm not one of those people. I just like it to blend nice and pretty. I'm going to do this side here. I lift up the ear and trim right to the edge. In fact, that's actually almost to the skin there. And I'll show you on the other side how I'm doing that. She's being treated for a yeast infection in her ears, so if the ear hair appears yellow, that's why. Right through here. I'm laying my shear right on her skin and beveling it out so that it's nice and tight through there. I've got to set the line on her neckline better too. It's a little high. And then pull the ear forward. And I get that hair right through there that way. And then for her head, a lot of times I'd use a snap-on comb. Not on her. We're going to set it this way. We're going to set our ears. Make your line and cut straight up and down. Usually I use a straight for this, but I don't want to keep changing shears, so this won't hurt anything. These are my eliminator curves, and they are super nice for this. Come straight over the top into the back of the neck. And again, remember, she's a puppy. Now on the side of the face, I'm going to show you. See the shape? I know I probably shouldn't be sitting down, but I'm tired. I come up just like this, straight to the ear, from the corner of the eye to the ear. And then over the ear, I set my line. I bevel it slightly, I think you can see that, so that it comes up into the top knot. And now in the front, I'm not going to leave much of a visor, or whatever they want to call this. I forget what they call this on a poodle. I don't like that on her. I don't like it on most of my pet dogs. You would leave it on a show dog, or even on a, they look better on standard. I cannot remember what that's called to save my life. But anyway, I don't like it on her, so I'm not going to leave much of one. But that little overhang that they leave there, or that people leave there, not they. I hate that immortal they, and I tend to use it a lot. Pull the ear back and scissor right in front of the ear too. Get all of that out of there so that when we put her ear meds in, it doesn't get everywhere. Now you know you're looking at her ear going, wait a minute, her ears don't look greasy? It's because I got the ear meds in the ear, not on the ear. And then when I bathed her, I degreased them. A little bit of flea shampoo, good to go. Some people call this a bubble. That's one of the words I'm thinking of. I know, right? Don't you wish all 9-month-old puppies were this good? I know I do. But anyway, now that I've got my basic shape in, I don't know if you can hear Luke. Luke is her dad, and he's on the floor, and he wants her down on the floor. He wants to play. What you do from this point is you comb that direction. And if it hangs over the side, you cut it. And then we're going to comb this way. And the same thing. If it hangs off to the side, we're going to cut it. Comb it forward. Now, I'm not going to cut it off right there, but I'm going to shape it from there. And up the sides and into the top. Comb it back. I don't have that line as clear as I want. Some people like to blend the ears in. I don't. I like a nice separation. Shelf is another term that's used for that. Then right over her eyes because she has eyelashes. I can't stand eyelashes. So we're going to blend that better. I don't like the way that looks on this side. So we're going to take out our trusty chunker. Blend that neck into the head. Get that crest blended in. Chunkers are great on this type of coat too, where you may have left scissor lines just because of the type of coat that they have. And you can go back and take out all of those scissor lines with these. It's like erasers. Stand up for me. And anything there where it wants to stick up a little bit. Put her ears forward whenever you're working on the crest so you don't catch them in the scissors. Make sure she's the same length all over. You test that with your fingers. You test in here. She is this long on this side. That is how long she is there. You can do the same thing on legs if you're unsure. She has this much hair on that leg. She has that much hair on that leg. That's a trick I learned when I was competing. It's awesome for figuring this stuff out. And again, I'm not combing up. I'm going to be combing down. I'm going to comb up just to make sure they blend well. It's not too bad. That's the piece of hair that I left last time too. I'm using the camera to actually see what I'm doing on her as well. If you had a mirror, that would help as well. But I don't have a mirror, I have a camera. It's awesome for that. Okay, now, like I said to you before, this is not an official primer on how to do a poodle trim. This is how I do a poodle trim in my shop. This is how I would send one home. Maybe a little more finished work, and probably not on a 9-month-old puppy. I would most likely take a 9-month-old puppy down with a 4-blade all over because they're approaching coat change and it's difficult for most people to deal with it. But since she's mine, we're going to try to avoid that. We're just going to now go back and add some more shape, eliminate some more lines. Excuse me there. Check how well we're blended. It's not bad at all. With Cocker Spaniel grooming, I was always taught that you should have the dog looking as if it grew that way. And I feel the same thing about a poodle. That's one reason why I don't like these terribly sculpted things, because it never looks as if it grew that way. This looks as if it grew that way. Leave no hair untouched, but make it look ungroomed. That's the law as far as I was taught. And that's the law that I try to instill in my students. You want it to look as if it might have grown this way, and yet look groomed. Let's get that trimmed here. That's why I don't like these sharp points in places and the sharp angles that people can leave on some dogs. Because to me they look artificial. I like softness, which is one reason I like a chunker. It makes those lines look like the haircut is several days or even a week old. So you end up with a nice soft finish. All right, turn your head. Just get right there. Almost there. She's done amazingly well. Okay. Now, I realize there are still lines in her coat, but I also hope that you understand she's a 9-month-old puppy and her coat is soft as snot. Not too shabby if I do say so myself, considering what I'm working with. Give her 6 months. She may get me back into the competition ring yet. Can you put that foot back a little bit? That's better, thank you. That's better. All set? We forgot her tail. Sorry about that. Were any of you going to tell me, or were you just going to let me forget? I'll bet you were just going to let me forget, weren't you? I would have realized it once I dropped her onto the floor to go play with her daddy. Tails are tricky. They can be really complicated on some dogs. I've never quite figured out a good way to do them. Some people twist them. I don't find that to be effective. Some people just fan them off like I just did on her so that you end up with a basically just a fan look. I like to comb them up down towards the body. Now the nice thing about this is the person who did her tail left a nice long one, so we actually have something to work with. We have a decent looking tail lengthwise. She just again has soft hair. And at one point she chewed her tail almost completely bald. We still haven't figured out what she was doing with that. Doesn't make any sense to me. But that goes to show you too that everybody forgets something. I have before sent dogs home without doing their tails. I have before sent dogs home only having done 3 feet. Funny thing is, on that one, it was a standard poodle and the mama didn't notice. I caught it the next time she came in. How funny is that? Okay, so mission accomplished. Tail is now done. It's not half bad. So now we can do this all over again. Feet together, back feet where we want them. Voila! Not bad for a 9-month-old puppy's trim. Less than an hour. Well, probably right at an hour by the time you take into effect the face and the feet. But drying her was no problem because she's so thin. All right, Missy, stop. We also spent quite a bit of time talking. And I'm trying to do this from an angle that doesn't interfere with your appearance. There's your lines. Remember, she's soft. She's got some lines in her coat. They'll go away. After she's been on the floor for a little bit, they'll be gone. Maybe you learned something. Maybe you didn't. If you didn't, forget everything I just did. You just spent an hour watching a video that didn't teach you anything. If you learned one thing, it was worth your time. Even if it was just that I'm an idiot. Have a great day, everybody. You ready, Libby? There you go.